Before we get started with the video, this video is somewhat inspired by the content that 𝐒𝐿_Rory, another Overwatch channel, has been putting out. I think their content is absolutely fantastic and they deserve a lot of the love that they've been getting. So if any of my viewers hasn't checked them out yet, please do check out 𝐒𝐿_Rory's channel. Really great YouTuber, covers a lot of heroes and talks about them in a lot of depth, and somewhat inspired this video as well. So let's not waste any time and get started with the video. Genji Shimada, a fan favorite and by far one of the most popular heroes in Overwatch history, right alongside Mercy, as revealed by 𝐓𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐄𝐇 on the Blizzard forums. Genji is a hero that captivated the world through his appearance in the Dragon cinematic first, and then his unique gameplay that still cannot be found elsewhere to this day. A hero that has excelled in using combos within his duels and a playmaking ultimate that rewarded his timing and combo usage. On top of all of that, a fantastic deflect ability to deny ultimates such as Graviton Surge,
Огонь по готовности!
Dragon Strike,
Let them up!
and even ultimates like May's Blizzard. What wasn't there to love about this hero? He could do it all as long as the player playing him knew what he was doing. However, whilst Genji in the lore can be considered one of the strongest heroes available within the Overwatch roster, the same cannot be said about his gameplay state in Overwatch 2 as of Season 10, the Mirror Watch season. The hero has lost a lot as to what made him great, and lost, and I seriously mean a lot, of power and playmaking potential progressively over time, especially during the lifespan of Overwatch 2. I'll be doing my best to give a summarized versions of Genji's impact in the game throughout the different metas in Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, and then speak specifically about the changes he has received throughout Overwatch 2's lifespan that stripped a lot of power from his kit. For a more in-depth look as to what has happened to Genji, I highly recommend that you do check out 𝐒𝐈𝐿Key's video on Genji. He does a much better job digging onto the Overwatch 1 lifespan, as I will try to, go through the Overwatch 1 lifespan quick and then talk about it more from the Overwatch 2 perspective. Before I do go on with the video, everyone, I do want to say this to new viewers and returning viewers alike. English isn't my first language. I have shared where I'm from. I'm not going to be doing that over here. I do my best to speak, so if you hear any form of grammatical errors or things like that, please understand that when it comes to the English language, it is a work in progress and I'm not perfect. So with that being said, let's dive in. So before diving into the front lines of Genji's playstyle in Overwatch 2, I want to give a quick summary of the hero in Overwatch 1. Genji was never the meta-defining hero in the game and would often complement different meta heroes or compositions. For example, during Season 2 of Overwatch 1, Genji's strength came from Ana's ability to enable him through the overpowered nano boost that not only gave you an attack damage increase, but also a speed increase. Because of this, both Genji and Reaper were very powerful, and when Ana's speed boost on the nano had been removed, both of them had been replaced by Soldier in the ongoing meta. Specifically going into Season 3, where the infamous triple tank composition came to be, where Soldier still saw prominent playtime, Genji had started to kind of get fiddled out of there. Over time, Genji saw playtime here and there by specialists and was mostly considered a pick that only the true specialists of the hero could make work. Master the art of the blade and surely it would reward you. His flaws were that not many people ever talked about is that this is a hero that does need to land 3 different projectiles. Again, I don't think I said that in the best way. Genji is a hero that relies on 3 different projectiles hitting the target properly in order to maximize his value, whether you're hitting the head or the body. This isn't going to be happening majority of the time, and that means Genji's overall DPS potential is more inconsistent than playing characters like Tracer, Sombra, Echo, all who can do Genji's job much better than him, and we're always in a much better state than him as well. Fast forwarding into the GOATS era, I don't think I need to explain that Genji didn't see much light of day. And then moving over to the double shield era, Genji struggled to perform here too until that one holy patch. It was incredibly obvious that the developers overbuffed him to shift up the meta somewhat, and this was the patch where he had received his strongest buffs ever. I want everybody to please note that prior to these buffs, Genji has had 28 DPS shuriken and 120 damage per swing, and that had never made him meta, nor was he ever a top tier pick. He was a middle of the pack hero who maintained his popularity due to being a fun character and addicting hero to play, garnering not only a strong and loyal fan base, but popularity all across the board. Now that we have that in mind, Genji's strongest buffs were him getting the following changes. As you can see, his shuriken damage had gone up from 28 to 30. The secondary fire saw a spread decrease to help him hit his shurikens more often, and the deflect saw a buff up to 2 seconds with now the ability to cancel it as well. So a little bit of a quality of life change was thrown in too. This immediately skyrocketed Genji into the meta that everybody fundamentally agrees that this would definitely make him powerful and, you know, OP. I'm sure we all even remember that amazing 𝐒𝐿 clip that happened in the Overwatch League. And in case you're new to Overwatch and you've not seen that clip, check it out over here.
Into it, blade in hand, it's going right down to the distance as the overtime burns through. The Fusion need to find an opening. Sparkle now moving through, but X is on the flank. The headshot onto 𝐒𝐈𝐶. One of their star players taken out early, and Boombox just left to his own devices in the sidelines. He goes down to Fusion. Only a couple of players left remaining. 𝐒𝐿's got to come up huge right now. Everyone is weak. 𝐒𝐿 with the blade, pulls it through, builds it up. Will it be enough? 1 kill, 2 kill. Are you kidding me? 𝐒𝐿 now finds it with the third. And now it is overtime. 𝐒𝐈 moving over to the Tracer to try and deny, but 𝐒𝐿! What a player, what a star!
What a hero, so fun to watch. Anyways, moving on, it's important to understand that this version of him was clearly overtuned, and Blizzard was quick with their nerf hammer and slammed his cybernetic ass down into the concrete floor, kicked him in the shin, and then gave him the following nerfs. As you can see, his damage has been reduced to 28, the original value he has always had, and the recovery fire had been increased as well, slowing him down somewhat. He had become irrelevant yet again at the higher levels of play and professional play. During that time, the meta DPS picks revolved around characters like Tracer, Sombra, Echo, and in some cases, Soldier 76. Even when Dive was meta, there was few instances where Genji saw playtime. Hell, even in some of the earlier lifespans of Overwatch League, Genji was actually being replaced by Widowmaker just because she just had better map control and much more consistent, impact on the game than what Genji could do. It was interesting that even in dive compositions, Genji was a bit here and there and sometimes just not even seeing playtime. Anyways, the balance team did acknowledge this, that the hero was a little bit irrelevant, and they did try to help him again. They started by giving him a slight fire rate increase, but then immediately ensured to gutter the charge rate of Blade. Since ultimately by this point, the hero had become nothing but a Blade bot that desperately relied on his girlfriend Mercy to hold his hand, or his Nana Anna shooting a needle up his ass so he could do any form of damage. Without either of those, Blade was still a mid-tier ultimate at best, and this is also implying the best case scenarios that Blade actually worked out. Ultimately, the balance team did share that they did want to move Genji away from the Nano Blade reliance and allow him to have more impact during the mid-fight, which allowed him to receive the following buffs. His shuriken damage had gone up from 28 to 29. The blade was now doing 110 damage per swing and not 120. This was even lower than the direct shots from a Pharah rocket or a Junkrat grenade directed. It was crazy, but you know what? It was fair because Blizzard's new philosophy was to compensate one part of the kit if another part was nerfed. Again, the philosophy here was that they wanted to move away from the one-shot breakpoints that Nano Blade could do, while also allowing Genji to have power in his, neutral gameplay, in that gameplay loop where he's dueling other people close range. This was the best middle ground that Genji ever had. He felt fun to play, he could work in certain spots, and whilst he wasn't exactly a meta hero, the hero at least felt like he had impact during fights. Now we enter the era of Overwatch 2 Genji. Here's how it all started. Season 1 of Overwatch 2 saw Genji see a lot of playtime. This was number one because of the DPS passive, where DPS got increased reload and movement speed per elim, and the fact that during that meta where Sojourn was so dominant, and hilariously enough, she is still by far one of the best DPS in the game, Genji was just a big winner of the 5v5 format in general, and he could fit in to the compositions that were meta of the time, and because of that he saw a lot of playtime. Now, because of his increased play and win rate, he was targeted for nerfs, and in my personal opinion, got some of the harshest nerfs a hero has ever seen. Shuriken damage had dropped to an all-time new low, dropping from 29 to 27, and his ammo got brought down to 24. Regardless, you know, the ammo count doesn't even matter anymore because they accidentally buffed it back to 30, and, you know, it is what it is. The hero still meh till this day. The ammo count doesn't matter. It's his interactions with the breakpoints. Despite the changes that Genji had received, what made me truly upset about this entire situation was somewhat the hypocrisy. I'm not sure if that is the right word here, or their extremely poor communication as to what their philosophy was with the hero. They had communicated the reason for these nerfs was because of the DPS passive being a thing at the time, and when that DPS passive had been removed, Genji saw no compensation buffs at all, whilst other characters did. This was ridiculous. Regardless, this was still in an era where support wasn't as strong and healing creep hadn't properly happened yet. Progressively, over time, the game saw new additions into the support role and tank role, reworks to characters to help them out, and a plethora of changes that have taken place that did somewhat hurt Genji now more than ever. I want to remind everybody that Genji was never meta or the best hero to play, and was still a mid-hero when he had 120 DPS played and 28 DPS Shuriken. And this was in the health pools of 200 HP for a majority of the squishies in the game. Now the gameplay format is entirely different. In order to deal with the support role, healing power creep, we exist under a DPS passive that reduces healing by 20%, and the health pool for most squishies has gone up to 250. The health pool changes were a massive nerf towards Genji anyway because of how he interacts with breakpoints, and again, I implore to remind everybody that Genji isn't always hitting 3 different projectiles at once. Most of the time, at best, only 2 ever hit you during his duels, and very rarely would 3 ever hit. Again, majority of the characters in Overwatch are very fast and very quick, and we have seen some form of a mobility creep that everybody can jump, dodge, teleport, yada yada yada. Not to mention that during the projectile size increase patch, instead of him going up from the 1 size to 2 size that generally helped him quite a bit, his was actually nerfed down to a number I cannot remember, but from the feeling point of view, it literally feels like the hero did not get a projectile size buff, as more often than not, you're still in that same problem where only ever 2 shurikens are hitting, and a full combo isn't as strong because of how terrible his interactions with breakpoints are now, with the health pool increase and Blade only doing 110 damage. Guys, seriously, for the love of God, this is an ultimate ability that now does 110 damage against 250 HP pools. If you fail to hit a target with your dash, it takes 3 swings to kill 1 squishy. What? That's right. In order to compensate Genji for some of the changes, the balance team had talked about that they wanted to do something for Genji's Dragonblade, and they tried to help Dragonblade from the POV of increasing the swing speed. Now, this is slightly debatable, but I think we all, especially the Genji players, fundamentally agree that this did not help Genji at all. If anything, this was an indirect nerf to the hero. Firstly, not only did it mess with the muscle memory for combos, missing any part of that combo also pretty much meant that the target was almost guaranteed to survive the blade because of, again, mobility or the slightest bit of healing, and then that would mess up the next breakpoint of the way Blade interacted, and there's so much burst healing in this game. I am sure that if anybody here has over 10 hours on Genji will understand that feeling of, damn, if I mess up the slightest, I won't even get even the most minimum of value from my hero. It can be really frustrating to play this hero. It is genuinely really sad. I feel like one thing that isn't discussed enough either is also the fact that after the first 2 slashes that Genji takes with the new speed, there's this awkward downtime where he tries to put his blade back into its original position, and this window over here is more than enough time for a target to either escape through mobility, or the fact that any support can basically smooch a target with their healing and render the next blade swing potentially useless, because said target would usually survive because of the breakpoint interactions, and Dragonblade's number of 110 is just so weak in the way it's interacting with the game as of right now. Genji, the hero, will most likely lose the duel when he's committing with Blade, because he has to be in front of the enemy to do any form of damage. He genuinely has to be up in your face, which means that the hero is fully exposed to also getting hit by cooldowns and general shots. And the projectiles are much bigger now, so it's clearly much easier to do. Not to mention how many immortality buttons are there in the game, damage reduction buttons, yada yada yada, list goes on. And this is genuinely really tiring. Look, my point is, this is my favorite hero, and I've talked a lot about other heroes as well under a fair light of wanting to either buff or nerf them to a reasonable degree. However, when it comes to Genji, I do feel like this is the worst state he's ever been in, and the fact that no other big Genji content creator tries to push forth an idea of a buff patch that is reasonable, or even try to get a response from the balance team, is saddening. I'm seeing 𝐒𝐈𝐷 get responses for the Mercy community, 𝐒𝐈𝐷 pushing something for the Hanzo community. It would be nice if there was somebody trying to represent the Genji side of things. At least I'm hoping that maybe this video somehow reaches Blizzard and I can do my best to push my ideas forward. Before I share what I would do to help Genji's current state, and before I end this video, I want to share the reason that Genji got the nerfs that he did to his damage and his blade. Was mostly for Blade. Blizzard said that they had wanted to tone down the one-shots in their game, which is also exactly why Sojourn and Hog got to keep theirs. But Genji, lol, okay, clearly no bias there. Anyways, jokes aside, if Blade is going to be on the weaker side, which I am okay with, my suggestion is, please push his damage back to 28. I know for a fact that asking for 29 DPS Shuriken is just never gonna happen, and a slight reduction on his ultimate cost would help the hero feel much better overall, especially since Blade is weaker. Do you know how I know Blade is weaker? Dragonblade stats on overbuff have dropped ever since the swing speed came out. Yeah. So that buff, like I said, was a nerf because he's actually killing less people with a quote-unquote faster blade. I wonder why. Anyways, despite overbuff's reliability being questionable, the blade elim stats have gone down in the past few seasons. Regardless, the defense the balance team has had is that they cite that Genji is still popular and sees a lot of playtime. And look, I've said this in previous videos and I will say it again. A hero being popular doesn't mean that the hero is in a good spot. Yes, at times there is data that can reflect this. Roadhog being so dominant to a point where he had a 60% win rate in GM in the past season. Good job, Blizzard, thumbs up. But in Genji's case, this is a hero that you have to play and experience to really get a good feel, and data is just never going to properly reflect that, in my opinion. This also applies to another popular character, Mercy. Despite Mercy being such a popular hero, everybody's been rating her as a D or F tier pick in the current game format. But for the two lovebirds of Genji and Mercy, they are both heroes that just have strong, loyal fan bases that would play them no matter what. Even as Jeff Kaplan had once said that on a forum post that these two heroes have had the biggest fan bases by a large margin before we even got to the next heroes. Look, with the buffs that the rest of the characters have been getting, the new heroes with such powerful abilities, and the overall gameplay direction in general, it feels incredibly difficult to make this hero work at times where I can just easily lock in Echo or Sombra and do what Genji does but much faster, easier, and actually be a lethal threat without having to center my entire playstyle around, God, I really hope my supports pocket me here. Look, I just want the hero to be playable without feeling like a heavyweight for my teammates, whether it's from the POV that I want them to resource dump into me, or the fact that because I don't have resources invested into me, I'm now a throw pick. This is still, at the end of the day, a high-skill, high-reward hero that promotes honest gameplay that doesn't do anything absurd or out of bounds for a hero shooter standards. This is also, from at least the male character's perspective, Overwatch's golden boy. Okay, for the female side of things, you can argue about Kiriko and Mercy, and maybe the both of them are at the same level. But from the guy's side of things, Genji is by far the most popular hero. Till this day, the Dragon cinematic and his Hanamura Showdown cinematic have the most views. And even in the comment sections, you can see for the Overwatch 2, the Overwatch 2 hype cinematic that they did, was Genji was the biggest talking point over there too. So this is a hero that clearly has a lot of love, and from that POV, from the skins, from the overall lore, he's been getting some love here and there, although he could use a little bit more. But from the balance team perspective as well, I would really like it if they did give him 28 DPS Shuriken to start and a reduced ultimate charge rate by 10% to see how the hero feels and then go from there. Look, I really hope the hero gets love because I love this hero and he's by far my favorite character in all of video games. He's by no means the worst hero in the game, but he's still one of the heroes that's slowly being lost in the sands of time, and if we're not quick to help him out, he might just end up like Symmetra, where the hero just feels utterly useless and garbage. It just feels like the balance team is not concerned about him or his gameplay experience, but most importantly, his hero identity. Genji Shimada is a hero that was either meant to be a duelist or a hero that relied on his ultimate to play mech, and that's how they balanced him. Today, he is a hero that lacks the damage to duel effectively, where other heroes like Tracer, Sojourn, Echo, Sombra, the list goes on, do that much better than him, especially with a character like Venture. Even they do better than him. Today, he's a hero that lacks the power in his ultimate to effectively play make and have an impact on a match unless you literally play against the worst players this game has to offer, where people play with their minds, monitors, and just their keyboards turned off. Anyways, with that being said, thank you so much for reaching this far into the video. If you would like to support the channel in a free way, all you have to do is hit like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. It helps me grow this channel. And if you guys like this type of videos, please let me know in the comments down below, and I might start to do more essay-like videos on talking about heroes and just their current gameplay state. I already do it in more of a rant format, but we could swap it up a little bit. Now, with that being said, if you do want to support me from a financial perspective, you can use the YouTube channel membership system, or you can also use the super chat feature to donate. Anything is appreciated, and I greatly appreciate and love you guys for all the support and bringing me to where this channel is today, even if its growth has been slow and steady. With that being said, once more, I will see you guys in the next video.